Little House on the Prairie is a reminder of when things were simpler for us in our lives those 45 years ago.
For years, fans believed Melissa Gilbert and Dean Butler shared more than just on-screen chemistry. Their portrayal of Laura and Almanzo felt too real to be fake. But behind the sweet prairie scenes, something much more complex was unfolding. Now, Melissa is breaking decades of silence. And what she reveals about Dean Butler is sending shockwaves through longtime fans of Little House on the Prairie. We'll uncover Melissa's personal truth, the awkwardness, pressure, and hidden emotions she faced growing up on set. Drawing directly from her memoir, Prairie Tale, interviews, and exclusive revelations. We'll explore her early life, intense filming experiences, the pressures of fame, and finally, her truth about Dean. The romance that fooled a nation. Everyone thought they were in love, and who could blame them? The on-screen chemistry between Laura Ingalls and Almanzo Wilder on Little House on the Prairie was so believable it didn't feel like acting.
I just met the man I would someday marry.
Pleasure to meet you, Laura. My friends call me Manny.
Pleasure to meet you, Manly.
From their tender glances to emotional wedding vows, viewers swore they were watching a real relationship unfold. Melissa Gilbert and Dean Butler made their characters' love story so convincing that fans around the world started to wonder if the romance extended beyond the screen. Back then, there was no social media. There were no Instagram lives, TikToks, or tell-all interviews floating around to debunk the mystery. The public didn't get behind-the-scenes exclusives. All they had were the episodes and rare interviews in print. And in those interviews, Melissa and Dean remained silent about their personal dynamic. They didn't confirm a romance, but they never denied it either. That silence only fed fan speculation. Fan mail poured in. People asked, "Are you two really together?" Some hoped there was a secret relationship. Others assumed the wedding scenes were too real to be just acting. Even entertainment reporters speculated on whether there was something happening off-screen. Melissa and Dean said nothing. Years later, Melissa finally broke the silence in her memoir Prairie Tale, writing, "There was no spark between us. He was like a big brother." What we saw on screen was flawless, but the real story? That was just the beginning. Growing up in the spotlight. Melissa Gilbert didn't just act on Little House on the Prairie, she lived it. From the moment she stepped into Laura Ingalls' shoes, her life changed forever. Adopted by a showbiz family, Melissa was introduced to cameras and scripts at a very young age. By the time she was 7, she was already appearing in commercials. And at just 9 years old, she landed the role that would define her childhood, Laura Ingalls. It was the dream role, but it came at a cost. Behind the braids and the sunbonnet was a girl trying to understand herself. Melissa was growing up in front of millions of viewers who believed they knew her. But they didn't. What they saw on screen was a character. Brave, wholesome, innocent. Off-screen, Melissa was a kid dealing with the weight of public expectations, family struggles, and the pressures of being a child star in Hollywood. Michael Landon, who played her father on the show, stepped into a real-life parental role when she needed it most.
Will they go away, Pa?
Yeah, they're not too hungry. Reckon they'll go somewhere and sleep before sunup.
With her adoptive parents' marriage falling apart, Michael became her anchor. He treated her like one of his own, offering guidance and protection. His home became a refuge. But even that couldn't erase the confusion of growing up on set, surrounded by adults with no normal childhood to speak of. But when Dean Butler stepped onto set, everything changed. And not in the way anyone expected. Pretending to love a grown man. Melissa Gilbert was just 15 years old when she was cast opposite Dean Butler, who was 23, to portray one of television's most beloved romances, Laura Ingalls and Almanzo Wilder. On screen, their relationship was dreamy, full of warmth and deeply emotional. But behind the scenes, Melissa was still a teenager, and she was terrified. She hadn't even had a real boyfriend in her personal life, and now she was expected to show romantic affection, kiss a grown man, and sell the story of first love to millions of viewers. Their very first kiss wasn't the magical moment fans imagined. Melissa later described it as awkward, weird, and incredibly uncomfortable. Dean Butler echoed her discomfort, saying, "I think that there was anxiety on both sides of that kiss."
Now, I understand this is the first kiss you ever received from...
Character-wise, yeah.
No, ever from
Ever
anybody.
in my
This was the
life.
first kiss ever.
Pretty much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you were...
How nervous were you?
Terrified.
She wasn't ready, mentally, emotionally, or physically. But there was no choice. The cameras were rolling, and her job was to make it look natural. That kiss aired nationwide and became a symbol of prairie innocence. But for Melissa, it was a moment filled with anxiety and confusion. In fact, Butler recalled how personal the moment was for Melissa's family, sharing, "It was a funny kiss because Melissa's mother was off-screen nearby crying. She was seeing her little girl have her first kiss ever." But that wasn't the only pressure Melissa faced. Hollywood wanted even more from her, and this time, it was about her body. Hollywood's beauty trap. After Little House on the Prairie, Melissa Gilbert was ready to grow up. But Hollywood had its own ideas of what growing up meant. And they weren't gentle. No longer the innocent Laura Ingalls, she was pushed into roles that required glamour, sex appeal, and a whole new image. One of her earliest post-Prairie roles was in Splendor in the Grass, a film that forced her into tight clothing, dramatic makeup, and adult-level sensuality. She was just 18. The shift was shocking. Melissa, who once wore prairie dresses and lived in scripted innocence, suddenly faced pressure to be sexy enough for Hollywood. Producers didn't suggest, they demanded. Her image had to change fast. Under that pressure, Melissa chose to have a nose job shortly after her 18th birthday. Not because she wanted to, but because she thought she had to. Soon after, she also got breast implants. These weren't decisions made from confidence. They were fueled by fear. The fear of being replaced, of not being pretty enough, of fading into irrelevance.
I didn't know. Well, yeah, like I say all the time, I didn't even shave my legs yet. And you're shaving your face.
In her memoir, Prairie Tale, she revealed how painful that transformation truly was, not just physically, but emotionally. "I didn't recognize myself anymore," she confessed. Her body was changing, but so was her self-worth. She didn't feel empowered. She felt lost. Hollywood had taken a girl from the prairie and remolded her into something she didn't even recognize. But years later, Melissa took her power back. In 2015, she removed her implants, stopped coloring her hair, and vowed never to have cosmetic surgery again. "I'm aging gracefully," she declared. "This is my face. This is me." That choice became her quiet rebellion, and her loudest message yet about loving yourself exactly as you are. But even as she reclaimed herself, one question kept haunting fans. What was the real story with Dean Butler? Melissa finally answered, and what she said surprised everyone. The truth about Dean Butler. For decades, fans clung to the hope that Melissa Gilbert and Dean Butler had a real-life romance brewing behind the scenes of Little House on the Prairie. Their chemistry as Laura and Almanzo felt too natural, too sincere to be just acting. Audiences watched their wedding, their loving glances, and their quiet moments, and believed there had to be more. But now, Melissa has spoken the truth, and it's not what anyone expected. "There was no spark between us," she revealed in her memoir Prairie Tale. "He was like a big brother." At just 15, Melissa was still learning who she was. Dean, at 23, approached his role with professionalism and kindness. He knew the age difference made things delicate. Their romantic scenes may have made history, but behind the camera, it was all nerves and no butterflies. That first kiss? Terrifying. There was no real attraction, just a script and a sense of duty to make the audience believe. Dean, for his part, was nothing but respectful. He never pushed boundaries. He treated Melissa with care, like a protective older sibling, not a romantic partner. Off-screen, Melissa had a crush, but not on Dean. It was Rob Lowe who captured her young heart. Dean was simply a co-star. And yet, what they created together was powerful. Their portrayal of Laura and Almanzo became one of TV's most beloved love stories. Fans believed in it because the performance was so authentic. Years later, when they reunited for a TV segment, there was no tension, just warmth and respect. Melissa Gilbert's story isn't one of secret love or scandal. It's one of truth, resilience, and growth. If Melissa's honesty surprised you, tell us in the comments. Like, subscribe, and check out our next video for more untold stories from your favorite stars.